Welcome in, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hi, Sibley. Hi, Sparkle Tree. Hi, Jade. Hi, Fiona. Hi, Justin. Hi, Lorna. Hi, Deborah. Welcome in, everybody. Hi, Lemons. Have fun, lovely. I hope you have fun watching movies. Love you. Hi, Grim. I'm good. How are you? Hi, Rachel. Hi, Glinda. Hi, Shay Shay. Hey, Ashley. Hi, Court. Hi, Snowfall. Hi, After. Thank you. Thanks, Jen. And thank you, Pumpkin Spice, for the cozy cryptids. And thank you for the divine fingers, Lorna and Deborah. And Walla, thanks for the cozy cryptids. Lemons, thanks for the cozy cryptids and the populars. Rachel, thanks for the cozy cryptids. I was sharing it out, so I missed a lot of these. Hi, Trisha. Welcome in. Oh, I love that sparkle tree. Thank you. And thank you, Subu. Good, Sibley. Sit back and relax. Hi, Anna. Anytime, Walla. I'm so glad I can help. Hi, Draconis. Hi, Burley. Yes, welcome in, Trisha. Hi, Allison. Trisha, thanks for the bubbly kiss. Thank you, Eric. Welcome in, everybody. If you're new here, my name's Devin, and this is Porch Lore. And I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I am here every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. If you guys could do me a big favor and hit that share arrow. In the bottom right-hand corner, there's a yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other that says repost. And that puts my live into your friends' FYPs, and it helps us grow our beautiful porch. Also, feel free now to write your story requests in the chat in all capital letters. Hi, Michelle. In all capital letters, and I will write them down, and then we will vote for the first story. Welcome to the porch. Thank you, Trisha. Hi, Paulo. I love you. I miss you. Aw, thanks, Lemons. That's so cute. Tiny dandelion, thanks. By the way, Ashley, you just requested La Lechuza, right? And Paulo, my friend who's in that story with me, just came in and said hi. Hi, Steven. How you doing? Oh, good. You're still here. Yay. That's cool, Stephen. I'm glad. Okay, you guys. I'm going to set up the first poll. I think I have most of your requests written down. Oh my gosh. Lily, that was cute. Sage the Smart Bean. I haven't seen that one. Aw, that's so sweet. Little Big Walk. I love that. That's so kind of you. And yes, reposting is so thoughtful and helpful to everybody involved. So thank you. Jen, you spelled it right except for the C. It's just P-U-K, but the rest is right. London's been hot this week. What has it been, like 70? Just kidding. Also, Lovely's not going to be here tonight, you guys, and she usually helps answer questions when people come in and ask stuff like, how long is she telling stories for? What's the name of the story? People come in and ask the same various questions all night long, and she answers them all. So feel free, if you guys would like to help me, step in and try to help answer those questions. Thank you, Justin, because Lovely is usually just really on top of it, and it really helps ease a lot of my anxiety and getting those people to their answers so they don't like leave or feel, you know what I mean? So thank you so much. Oh my gosh, Michelle, that was so cute. Thank you. And thanks, Yaya, for the frog conductor. Those are so cute. Thank you. Thank you, Crazy Cat Mom. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, the poll is ready. Oh, it's you, Trisha? Hi, Trisha. You changed your name or do you have a second account? You changed it? Hi. Okay, guys, the poll is ready. And we have La Lechuza versus the Fresno Nightcrawler Creepy Pants. Are you eating grilled cheese, Sparkles? We have The Bell Witch, which is the new story of the week. Oh, you changed it. We have The Deer Woman, and we have of Oklahoma, and we have The Ozarks Howler. And you can vote in the top left-hand corner in the blue box. And you can vote up to 50 times. And you can vote for more than one story at a time. We have La Lechuza, the Fresno Nightcrawlers, the Bell Witch, the Deer Woman of Oklahoma, and the Ozarks Howler. And you can vote in the blue box in the top left-hand corner. If it's hidden by that stupid pink banner, it will go away, or just, Michelle says you can swipe up. Oh, wait a minute. Thanks, Michelle. Sorry, you guys. That's the poll that disappears and then I can't see it again. So I'm sorry, you guys. I'm going to do it again. Because it's the one that, remember the one that disappears and doesn't keep track correctly? Okay, that should be the right one. There we go. Is that right? Yeah, sorry guys. It's La Lechuza, Fresno Nightcrawlers, the Bell Witch, the Deer Woman of Oklahoma, and the Ozarks Howler. Thank you so much for letting me know, Trisha. And the Bell Witch is the new story. We have La Lechuza, Fresno Nightcrawlers, the Bell Witch, the Deer Woman of Oklahoma, and the Ozarks Howler. Thank you, shorties. Welcome in. Grab a beanbag chair. Grab a hammock. Welcome to the porch. Anna's Bananas, there's over 100 stories. And the list is available on my Discord page, which the link is in the bio. Justin also can post it. And so there's a whole list. Yeah. And if you don't know any of the stories yet, you can also just sit back and relax and learn them. Just listen. Because you'll learn them eventually. When you're new here, people just, hi, love bug. When you're new here, people just kind of get to know them before, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry about voting. Thank you, Justin. And yes, here, Justin just commented the Discord link. Hi, Gigi. And the winner is La Lechuza. Is Paulo still here? If she's not, Jade, invite her back. Yay, she's here. This story features Paulo, my lovely friend, over at Frightful Frequencies. And we love her very much. 2-point difference, Michelle? Oh my God, you're right. You're right. All right, I will be right back with the tale of La Lechuza. And if you guys could do me a big favor while I'm switching stories, could you hit that share arrow in the bottom right-hand corner if you're on TT? And there is a yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other. This says repost, and that puts my live into your friends' FYPs, and it helps us grow this beautiful porch. Hi, Salty Dog. Hi, XTR. Welcome back. Also, feel free to grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, sit back and relax, check out the shooting stars, and welcome to the porch. Haven't seen you in a while, XTR. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, XTR, for the tiny dandelion. It's so cute. Hi, Anthony. Oh, thanks, Paulo. I've had a lot of fun with the merch. It's been super fun. Miss you too, Anthony. How are you? Submitted for the approval of the Porch Palace Society. This is the tale of La Lechuza. Oh my gosh, TikToks. Thank you for all the cute gifts. Thank you. I have a second phone that I look at them on, so I don't miss them when I'm doing things. And thank you so much. Thanks, Priscilla, for the cozy cryptids. Featuring the one and only Paulo. Me too, Miss Andress. Welcome in. Thanks, Shay Shay. I thought it would be fun. We started doing it a while ago. Now there's a Porch Pal Society merch. Crafty little devil, it's your birthday? Happy birthday, you little cutie. Everybody wish Crafty little devil a happy birthday. Our beloved Porch Pal. I never understood why the desert around El Paso felt heavier at night than any forest I had ever camped in. There was something about the wide open spaces, the way heat clung to the ground long after sunset. When I came to visit my friend Paulo, I expected our weekend to be full of margaritas and food trucks, maybe a tour across the border to see some markets. I didn't expect to walk straight into one of the oldest and most terrifying pieces of Mexican folklore that I had ever read about. It started the first night I arrived. Paulo had insisted that I stay with her instead of some downtown hotel, and her cute little adobe house sat right at the edge of the Franklin Mountains. That's you, girl, that's you, that's you. The sky out there stretched wider than my entire sense of scale. A solid sheet of indigo, with only the lights of Juarez flickering on the horizon like a thin, trembling constellation. Paulo had warned me that the mountains could get loud at night, with the wind rattling, the mesquite and the coyotes yipping in the distance. But nothing about her tone suggested that anything out there should frighten me. Still, the first night I couldn't sleep. The air felt too still for a place where the wind was supposed to be the main soundtrack. I remember lying there, blinking up at the ceiling fan when I heard it. The faintest scrape against the stucco wall outside. I told myself it was probably a branch or maybe an animal rooting around in the gravel. But something about the rhythm felt methodical. I held my breath and I waited. A moment later, a second sharper scrape cut through the silence. I sat up slowly, telling myself I wasn't scared, just curious. But then a third sound, a soft, muffled thud hit the wall, and the floorboard seemed to vibrate beneath my feet. I swung my legs out of bed and I tiptoed to the window, lifting the edge of the curtain just enough to peek outside. The yard was empty, and the moon hung low over the mountains, its pale glow stretching across the dust like a washed-out painting. Nothing moved, yet the sensation that something had been there clung to me like static. Some part of me knew that scrape hadn't been a branch, making sleep nearly impossible. The next morning, Paulo greeted me with her usual warmth. I didn't mention the noises. I didn't want to sound paranoid. Instead, we spent the day exploring downtown El Paso. I let the sunlight and the bustling streets distract me. We wandered past murals, exploding with color, browsed through markets selling glass-eyed milagros and handmade dolls, and ate food so good it made my eyes water. For a while, I forgot about the scraping. But later that afternoon, just before sunset, Paulo suggested we take a drive past the outskirts toward the old Mission Trail. She said she wanted to show me something beautiful, the desert when it softened, when the sky burned pink and the acatillos looked like skeletal torches. As we headed east, the neighborhoods thinned into stretches of open land. Abandoned buildings dotted the horizon, remnants of ranches long surrendered to time. The mountains glowed, copper in the fading sun, and the desert wind hummed low through the brush, and everything seemed perfect. Until the birds stopped. It's easy to not really notice birds until they all go completely silent. One minute, I could hear their distant trilling, the flutter of wings somewhere overhead. And then, everything sank into a stillness so sudden, it prickled every inch of my skin. Even Paula paused, her hand tightening on the steering wheel as she glanced over at me. And then came the shape. At first, I thought maybe it was a hawk, a large one, bigger than I'd ever seen, but not impossible. Plus, I haven't really spent a lot of time out in the Southwest. It swept over the road in a slow arch, its wings stretching wide against the glowing sky. They glided with a smooth, unnatural grace, as though it were being held aloft by something unseen. The creature swooped lower, and for a brief moment, the setting sun hit it at just the right angle. What I saw made my stomach drop. The wings were feathered, but the body was too long and too thick to be any bird of prey. And the head wasn't avian at all. It was human. Not entirely, more like the elongated silhouette of a woman's face mixed with an owl. The eyes were enormous and glistening white against the sky. It was La Lechuza. I had read the warnings only once, years ago, when I fell down a rabbit hole of borderland folklore. Witches, who sold their souls for revenge or power. Women who transformed into giant owls with human faces, hunting those who wronged them, or anyone unlucky enough to cross their paths. No one saw them without being marked. No one heard their call without inviting death. I had laughed it off at the time, but now, watching that impossible creature glide silently above the desert, I understood why entire generations feared her. As soon as we passed beneath her shadow, the air inside the car thickened. I felt as though something cold had wrapped its fingers around me and pulled down. I didn't say anything to Paulo. I didn't even need to. She had stiffened. Her knuckles were white against the wheel. She had grown up hearing stories about what flew in the desert at night. She knew exactly what we had seen. The creature didn't vanish. Instead, it followed us. Not close enough to attack, just close enough to watch. I could feel its gaze, heavy and deliberate, like the sensation of someone reading something over your shoulder. Every instinct screamed at me to get inside anywhere with walls. But the road stretched on through miles of open desert. By the time we reached Paul's house again, the sky had turned a deep violet. The creature had disappeared somewhere behind the mountains. But the sense of being followed clung to me. Paulo tried to shake it off, acting like it was no big deal. But I could tell that wasn't true by the way she double-latched the door behind us. That night, I didn't even try to sleep. I laid awake listening to the desert breathe, the wind pushing against the corners of the house. Every sound felt amplified. The tick of the ceiling fan, the low groan of the water heater, even the shifting of my own blankets. And then the wind stopped abruptly, leaving a silence so total it throbbed in my ears. A moment later, something tapped the window. Not softly, more like a sharp rap of a bone knocking against glass. I lay there frozen, staring into the darkness. And the tapping came again, accompanied by a soft rustle. Then a shadow passed over the blinds. I forced myself to move, to sit up and steady my breath. Every instinct told me that if I opened the blinds and I saw her face staring at me, I wouldn't recover from it. But curiosity has always been my undoing. Slowly, I approached the window. My hand trembled as I reached for the cord. Before I could touch it, the tapping stopped. The shadow lifted, and the rustling of wings receded into nothing. I stayed awake until dawn. The next morning, Paolo just brushed it off. I didn't believe her. I could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the way she avoided looking at the window. She was scared too. We tried spending the day in town, hoping crowds would make us feel safer. But by the time late afternoon rolled around, the tension had reached a point where we were both feeling it. Paolo eventually admitted that she had heard the tapping too, but she had ignored it out of fear of acknowledging it, because acknowledgement in folklore grants it power. Still, the creature had already marked us. That evening, Paolo suggested we stay somewhere else, anywhere else. A hotel downtown, a friend's couch, even her cousin's ranch on the outskirts of Las Cruces. She didn't care as long as it wasn't her house. She said the air felt wrong inside the walls now. Like something had seeped through. And I agreed. We gathered our bags quickly. I stepped outside first, and I felt the dry heat of dusk wrap around me like a thin blanket. The desert stretched silently in all directions. The sun sinking behind the mountains. For a moment, I allowed myself to believe that we had beaten her. That the creature wouldn't strike in daylight, that leaving the property meant breaking whatever hold she had formed. And then I saw the feathers. Right there on the hood of Paolo's car. 3 long feathers. They glistened in the setting sun. I reached out and touched one. The moment I touched the feather, the desert's silence deepened. Somewhere far off, a single coyote let out in a short, abrupt yip, and then nothing. Paolo whispered for me to get into the car. I could hear the fear in her voice. She shoved the key into the ignition and the car sputtered to life. I clutched the feathers, unable to let them go, even though every instinct screamed at me that I needed to. We pulled out of the driveway just as the first shadow moved across the sand. I saw it out of the corner of my eye first. A swift, gliding shape cutting through the air with impossible speed. The sun had almost vanished behind the mountains, turning the sky a bruised red. Against the backdrop, the creature's silhouette stood out clearly. Massive wings, a long contorted body, and that awful uncanny face, half woman, half owl, fully monstrous. La Lechuza had been waiting for us to step outside. She wanted movement. She wanted fear. She swooped low, trailing, as the car shuddered, as though it was struck by a heavy fist. Paulo floored the gas, the tires kicking up dust and gravel. I twisted in my seat, watching the creature circle overhead. She tilted her head unnaturally, her eyes reflecting the last sliver of light in a way that made them appear hollow. I didn't understand why she was after us. But then I realized she hadn't chosen us at all. We had just wandered into her territory. Thank you, Sherry. Her hunting ground. And once we reached the freeway, I thought we'd escaped. The open road, the bright lights of the city growing larger. I mean, surely she wouldn't follow us into civilization, right? But as we reached the first street lamps, I saw her again, perched on the highway sign. Wings folded neatly, face staring directly at our car. She watched us pass beneath her with stillness. And when we reached downtown, Paulo parked the car in the garage near a hotel. We checked in quickly and we locked ourselves inside a 9th floor room. I remember leaning against the door after the deadbolt clicked, thinking that we had to have broken whatever tether she had cast. But I was wrong. I tried to distract myself with the television. Thanks, Michelle. That's cool. But the screen kept flickering as though the power was struggling. The lights dimmed once, twice, and then the room went utterly silent. The hum of the air conditioner vanished, and the buzz of the lights from the hallway disappeared. Even the distant sound of cars seemed to fade into nothing. And then came the scraping. Slow, methodical, right outside the window. 9 floors up. A shadow passed over the curtains. My pulse hammered in my throat, and the scraping grew louder, like talons dragging across metal. I approached the window, drawn by a mixture of terror and fascination. I knew I shouldn't look, but I knew that seeing her face, truly seeing it, could possibly brand me in ways I didn't want to imagine. But I had to understand. I reached the window, my fingers curled around the edge of the curtain. Then I pulled back the curtain. She wasn't on the windowsill. She wasn't clinging to the glass. She wasn't perched on the edge like a gargoyle. She was hovering. Wings spread wide, body suspended in defiance of physics, eyes locked directly on me. Then her mouth opened slowly, but no sound came out. Then she lifted one clawed hand. Something dangled from it. It was one of the feathers from Paulo's car. She held it toward the window deliberately, almost offering it. then she pressed it against the glass. The feather dissolved instantly into black ash, leaving a smear across the pane like soot. When the ash settled, I saw that she had written something. A single symbol, 3 interlocking shapes. A mark that I had seen earlier that day carved into an abandoned ranch house we passed. It was a witch's sigil, ancient and powerful. It wasn't a threat. It was a claim. She hadn't followed us for fear. She hadn't followed us for hunger. She had followed us because we stepped into her territory when she was hunting, and now, in her eyes, we belonged to her. I stumbled back and Paulo grabbed my arm. I couldn't tear my eyes from that symbol. La Lechuza watched me silently. She didn't blink. She simply hovered there. I didn't know what she wanted or how to break the curse that she had marked us with. But I understood one thing with absolute clarity. You don't escape a witch owl by running. You escape her by paying whatever debt that she believes you owe. And we still don't know what we owe. But we do know that someday she might come to collect. Thank you, Kathmandu. That was adorable. And that's the tale of La Lechuza, featuring my girl, my friend, my bestie, Apollo. Thank you guys. I'm glad you liked it. Featuring my friend Paulo. I wrote that one a long time ago. God, when did that come out, Paulo? How long ago was that? And if you're new here, welcome in. My name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore. And I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I am here every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. Now I'm trying to remember how many months ago it was, Paulo. Because I usually can associate stories with seasons, but I feel like yours came out in the summer, right? You don't know anymore either. Well, I can find out. Let me look. Let me look. Okay, it came out on December 1st. Justin, could you share the Discord link again? Yeah, that's actually one of my longest stories. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate you. All right, you guys, I'm going to set up the next poll. Welcome in. If you guys could do me a big favor while I'm setting up that poll, if you could hit that share arrow in the right-hand corner, there's a yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other that says repost. And that puts my live into your friends' FYPs, and it helps us grow this beautiful porch of ours. Also, sharing to your stories and sharing with your friends helps too. And grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, sit back and relax. Check out the shooting stars in the sky, and welcome to the porch. I'll be right back with the next poll for us to vote on the next story. Thank you, Halls. Okay, guys, the next poll is ready. We have The Bell Witch, which is the new story of the week. We have The Fresno Night Crawlers. We have The Door in the Water. We have The Puckwudgies. And we have The Clover Door. You can vote in the top left-hand corner. There's a blue box, and you can vote up to 50 times, and you can vote for more than one story at a time. Thank you, Jen. And it's the Bell Witch, Justice for Impusa. That will be my 2 longest stories back to back. Each one of these stories is almost 30 minutes long. So give me a minute to take some swigs, and I will be right back with the tale of the Bell Witch and Justice for Impusa. Paulo, are you still here? Yeah, Jade, I really do. I thought about it. And yes, you just missed La Lechuza. Is Paulo still here? Jade, will you invite her back? I think she'll really like this story. It's a rare treat that we get to read La Lechuza with Paulo in here herself. That's awesome, Matt. I hope you go to the cave. Oh, I invited her again. Okay. Hi, Ryan. I've been doing these bedtime stories since November. Also, cheese and crackers is like my favorite snack. with salami usually. Missed you too, Sherry. Crab and crackers. Well, I bet that sounds delicious. Thank you, Jess. That's so cute. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Pal Society. Good night, Priscilla. This is the tale of the Bell Witch and justice for Empusa. My friend Kim and I became friends on TikTok first. We just clicked immediately, like we were sisters in another life. She just felt like home to me, and our connection is truly a deep bond that I can't really explain. We had decided to save up money for a paranormal adventure together with a whole crew of spooky bookies. And we were rolling deep. I'm talking Brittany, Elena, Ayana, Angela, Yaya, April, and Alicia. For our first paranormal adventure, we decided to go to Robertson County, Tennessee, to research the folklore and poke around. Because the Bell Witch story had always bothered me. Not frightened me, but bothered me. Just the way it was told, the way it was framed. The way the narrative blamed the neighbor, a strong-willed woman who had the nerve to stand up for herself against John Bell and was then deemed a witch. The way the story always centered the Bell family as the victims. Evil witch, demonic haunting, cursed land. The same tired language, repeated for 2 centuries without anyone stopping to ask who actually benefited from that version of events. As if the Bell family, who gained their wealth off the work of enslaved people, were somehow innocent, without ever stopping to think how their way of life itself was in fact the unnatural evil energy that saturated that land. What happened to the Bell family was most likely the repercussions of their own inhumanity, cruelty, and complacency. Thank you, Sherry. The Bell Witch Cave sits like a wound in the Tennessee countryside. It isn't dramatic at first glance. No towering cliffs or theatrical entrance. Just a low opening near the Red River, half hidden by brush and limestone. People come here expecting fear. They bring EMF meters and night vision cameras and preconceived conclusions. They desperately try to find connections to the witch. They want something to jump out at them. Something to justify the word evil. But we came because of the land itself. The Bell plantation once stood not far from the cave, and that detail is usually mentioned only in passing. John Bell, wealthy farmer, early Tennessee settler, respected man. That's how the story begins in textbooks and tour pamphlets. What it rarely expands on is what that wealth was built on. Enslaved labor. African women and men whose lives were owned, controlled, brutalized, and erased. Their suffering is somehow treated like historical static, background noise to the real story of a haunted white family. But the land remembers differently than the people who write the history books do. I had been researching older accounts, not the polished versions meant for tourists, but fragments buried in court records, local oral histories, diary entries, and overlooked scholarly articles. Mentions of women who disappeared, of punishments administered out of sight, of screams that carried across the fields at night. Of a cave the enslaved avoided until they didn't have a choice anymore. Because the Bell Cave wasn't where the haunting began. It was where the resistance did. When we stepped inside the cave, the temperature dropped in a sharp physical way that almost felt like we had crossed into a different realm entirely. Kim laughed and said, "Hold on, y'all, here we go." We were all excited and nervous because this was our first paranormal outing together as a group. The walls were damp, the stone smoothed by centuries of water. We could feel an electricity in the air, a vibration, a tingling feeling like we were standing somewhere where something important had happened. And I just kept thinking about the women, African women, brought here in chains, stripped of language, kinship, freedom, yet still carrying cosmologies older than this entire country. Women who viewed the land as alive, as something you spoke to rather than conquered. Women who knew protection magic, not as superstition, but as survival. Hoodoo, root work, conjure. These weren't aesthetic practices. They were technologies of endurance. Now, John Bell wasn't just cruel. He was methodical. His punishments were designed to break the spirit as much as the body. Women targeted not only for labor, but for humiliation, violence, and control. The Bell Witch legend talks about invisible slaps and disembodied voices tormenting the family. But it never talks about the very real hands that regularly struck enslaved women. The very real screams that went unanswered. The very real blood that soaked into this soil long before anything supernatural was ever reported. Desperation sharpens clarity, and those women didn't turn to the cave because they were curious. They turned to it because there was nowhere else to go. The cave was mysterious and revered even then, known to local indigenous people as a place where the veil between the worlds thinned, a place where the elements spoke louder than men. Earth, water, darkness, womb, and grave in the same breath. Those enslaved women didn't summon an evil spirit or a demon. they called on a protector, Empusa. Now, Empusa is not a witch in the fairy tale sense. She is an ancient elemental. She is associated with crossroads, caves, night travel, seduction, and punishment. Some believe she served Hecate, the ancient goddess of witchcraft, crossroads, and the underworld. Empusa always appears as a beautiful woman, impossibly graceful, almost hypnotic. Ancient writers compared her to spirits that fed on human vitality, which is why modern historians often describe Empusa as the earliest form of the succubus or the vampire. But she didn't drink blood. She drained people, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. She was seen as a force of punishment against arrogance, corruption, and human excess. Like a form of dark vigilante justice that appeared when people crossed lines they weren't supposed to cross. Long before Europeans ever set foot on this land, entities like Empusa have existed across cultures all over the world under different names. Not demons and not angels. Corrective energetic forces. Balancers. Justice. Karma. What those women did in that cave wasn't reckless. It was precise. They had worked with what they had. Roots, water, ancestors' blood and breath. They bound their suffering into the land itself. Not to curse blindly, but to anchor a guardian. They didn't ask for mercy. They asked for protection. And protection doesn't always look gentle, especially to those who are the oppressors and the abusers. As we moved deeper into the cave, the air changed in a way that made every single one of us stop walking at the exact same moment. Yaya and I locked eyes as if we both sensed something at the same time. The passage ahead narrowed into a low chamber where black mineral streaks ran down the limestone walls like old water damage. My inadequate flashlight beam trembled across them, and for a split second I thought I saw movement inside the stone itself. Long shapes shifting beneath the rock. Nobody spoke. Even Kim and Brittany, who usually joke when they get nervous, had gone completely silent. The vibration in the cave floor had deepened into something rhythmic. Not footsteps and not machinery. A slow pulse moving through the ground beneath our shoes. Then Angela asked if anyone else smelled anything. It smelled like wet soil and river water and something burning. Not smoke exactly, more like extinguished candles. Kim, who was behind me, suddenly stopped and told us all, "Back it up, Terry." I turned around to ask what was wrong, and she pointed past me toward the back wall. Now Kim has a special gift, and she can see spirits and energy that most people can't see. So, whenever she tells us she sees something, we all pay attention. At first, I thought it was just another creepy opening in the rock. But then I realized the darkness itself was moving. The shadows along the wall had begun gathering inward, folding together in a slow, fluid motion. Hi Paula, welcome back. Water dripped somewhere deeper in the cave. Except now, every drop echoed like a hammer strike. The shape that emerged was human-shaped. A silhouette formed from darkness, moisture, and flickering reflections of the cave walls. Parts of her seemed ancient and beautiful. Long limbs, hair moving like submerged roots. While other parts refused to stay still long enough for my brain to understand them. I remember seeing eyes, reflective like light shining across deep river water at night. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to run, but surprisingly none of us moved. We were all just frozen. Ayana looked like she was about to cry, and Alicia looked like she was scoping for places for exits. The entity stood at the far edge of the chamber watching us with an intensity that felt overwhelming. The cave had gone so silent I could hear the tiny crackling buzz inside my inadequate flashlight battery. Then all at once, the temperature dropped violently. The walls around us seemed to flex outward, and suddenly, images started flooding my mind so fast they almost knocked me off my feet. Images of women kneeling in this exact chamber. Hands pressed into the mud, blood mixed with river water. Images of a girl no older than 15, hiding behind the others while someone above ground screamed. Not random visions, memories imprinted into the land. The cave wasn't showing us horror for horror's sake. It was forcing us to witness. Elena kept repeating under her breath that she could feel people standing all around us. A presence. Then the figure moved closer. And the fear became almost unbearable then. Not because she wanted to hurt us, but because no human nervous system is built to experience something like this. My entire body shook uncontrollably. And then I understood something that didn't feel like my own thought. The land remembers what people bury. That was the message. Not revenge, not punishment. Remembrance. The cave itself was acting like an archive. And Impusa was its keeper. The story had survived distorted because distortion protects systems of power. If the entity was framed as evil, nobody would ask why she came. nobody would ask who begged her for protection in the first place. She lifted one arm slowly toward the cave wall beside her. And for one impossible second, the mineral stains across the limestone looked unmistakably like overlapping handprints. Dozens of them. Small hands, large hands pressed into the stone. Hi, Matt. And then my inadequate flashlight flickered, and they were gone. April gasped sharply behind me, because at the same exact moment, every one of our flashlights in the chamber went out simultaneously. I heard Angela's nervous giggle in the back of the group, and Brittany said, "I know you lying." Alicia gestured to Brittany and said, "Shh," as Ayana was trying to keep everyone calm and quiet. Then we were in complete darkness. Then I heard a woman sigh directly beside my ear. Not a voice, just a sigh, ancient and exhausted. And suddenly the fear changed. What terrified me most wasn't the entity that we had just encountered. It was the realization that suffering this profound had actually happened here. Real women, real terror, real desperation, powerful enough to stain a landscape for centuries. Then our inadequate flashlights suddenly lit back up, and the chamber was empty. And Pusa was gone. All that was left was some dripping water and the raw smell of earth. As we moved deeper into the cave, images pressed into my mind. Women kneeling on cold stone, bruised wrists, torn dresses. I felt their fear, yes, but stronger than that, I felt their resolve. A moment where survival shifted into defiance. And Pusa answered because she was meant to. And what followed on the Bell Plantation is well documented in the parts people like to sensationalize. Disembodied voices, physical attacks, psychological torment. John Bell growing weaker, sicker, unraveling. His once brutal authority collapsing under something he couldn't whip, sell, or silence. The legend calls it a curse, but that word does a lot of work for people who don't want to say justice. John Bell died under circumstances so strange they terrified his peers. The Bell family suffered losses, madness, humiliation. Their power eroded. Their name became synonymous not with wealth, but with a haunting. Their land rejected them. And the enslaved women, their names were not preserved, but their work was. The Bell Witch was never attacking randomly. The violence had direction, purpose, selectivity. This wasn't chaos. This was consequence. And Pusa did not linger to terrorize innocents. She stayed to guard the boundary. That land is not cursed. It's protected. People who go there seeking thrills often leave unsettled, shaken, sometimes even injured. They report scratches, nausea, disorientation, so they call it malevolent. But protection feels hostile to those who mean harm or are not pure of heart, even unconsciously. Especially to those who romanticize cruelty under the banner of history. Reframing the Bell Witch as evil allows people to mourn John Bell without digging into the man he really was. It allows the country to turn enslaved women into footnotes instead of architects of resistance. It allows violence to remain abstract rather than personal. But Impusa does not allow that abstraction. She anchors memory to the place. She ensures that suffering is not erased just because time passes. She makes sure the land itself refuses sympathy for abusers. As we turned back toward the cave entrance, the pressure eased. Not because we were leaving, but because we had been understood. A quiet acknowledgement. We hadn't come to provoke, we had come to listen. And Impusa understood that. The Bell Witch Cave doesn't need exorcism. It needs the truth. What happened there wasn't a haunting born of evil. It was a reckoning born of necessity. Enslaved African women denied every earthly protection, reached for something older than the system that oppressed them. And it worked. Impusa remains not as a monster, but as a sentinel. The land remains hostile not to all the living, but to those who are not pure of heart. And the story only feels like a curse. If you believe John Bell deserved mercy more than the women he brutalized deserved justice. Because some protections never expire. And that's the tale of the Bell Witch and justice for Impusa, featuring me and the Spooky Bookies. Matt, nobody's ever heard this version because this is my version. This is literally what I think happened. This isn't like a common theory. This is literally like, I made this up. Because this is what I think is true. Yeah, Matt, for sure. Most people do, which is crazy to me. Because, like, I don't know. Like, if you believe in karma or justice at all, like, I mean, anything that happened to them, you'd be like, well, you know. I know, Skrilla. I know. Good night, Lorna. Sweet dreams. But, like, I'm 700 years old, Skrilla, so, like, I know that. But, like, everybody else doesn't know that. Yes, James, he was a wicked man. Of course, Matt. Of course they do. That's how it always is. Good night, Lorna. Sweet dreams. All right, welcome to the porch. Oh wait, I gotta switch the background on my tea, sorry. Yes, Metro. That is what I said. All right, if you're new here, welcome in. My name is Devin, and I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I'm here every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. I do write and record all these stories myself, and they are all available on my YT channel, as well as all of the podcast streaming sites. Just look for Porch Lore and you will find me. You believe me, Metro? I love that. I'm glad. Thank you. Most people don't. Most people think I'm just being silly. 44 Geezy, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the porch. Hi, Songbird. How you doing, cutie? Denise, thank you for the cozy cryptids. Songbird, thank you for the hearts. And the cozy cryptids. All right, you guys. Grab a beanbag chair. Grab a hammock. Sit back and relax. Check out the shooting stars in the sky, and welcome to the porch. I am going to set up the next poll for us to vote for the next story. And while I'm doing that, if you guys could do me a big favor, if you could hit that share arrow in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other that says repost. And that puts my live into your friends' FYPs. Hi, Tommy! And it helps us grow this beautiful porch of ours. Also sharing to your stories and sharing to your friends. It's amazing. Lord Stormington, that sounds amazing. What kind of treat? A sweet treat? Yum, yum. And thank you guys for the reposts, the shares. If you've already reposted, you can unpost and re-repost. It kind of just refreshes the algorithm, lets them know we're still here. Ooh, I love milkshakes. Yum. Yum. What flavor? Yum. I actually have banana cream pie ice cream in my freezer waiting for me. It's amazing. Anyway, I'll be right back with the next story poll. Ooh, strawberry cheesecake's so good. Good choice. All right, I will be right. Hiya, Caro. I'll be right back with the next poll for us to vote. Hi, Leslie. Thank you. Megs, I love banana pudding. Yeah, I agree with Patsy. I gotta fight the nighttime munchies. No more talking of that. God, banana pudding's so good though. It's so good. Skrilla, banana pudding's your middle name? That's a cool middle name. Were your parents hippies? Hi, Rachel. Okay, you guys, the next poll is ready. Oh, thanks, Lee. I appreciate it. All right, you guys, the next poll is ready. We have the Honey Island Swamp Monster, the Deer Woman of Oklahoma, Apartment 214, which is a reworking of an Are You Afraid of the Dark story. We have the Dark Road Encounter, and then we have the Goat Man. You can vote in the blue box in the top left-hand corner, and you can vote up to 50 times, and you can vote for more than one story. Thank you, Metro. Yeah, Venus, you missed it. And it won the poll too, Venus. Like, I just finished it. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Megs. Jessica said Metro sent that for Dear Woman. That was so cute, Megs. All right. Oh, that's such a good reason, Venus. Yeah, girl. Like, really, don't even worry about it. Hi, Joanne. Hello, Riverman. And the winner of the poll is the Dark Road Encounter. And I will be right back. I just need to pull up that background and switch it up. And welcome in. If you're new here, my name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore, and I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I'm here every single night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. I do write and record all these stories myself. So if you would like to listen to them whenever I'm not live, you can listen to them on my YT channel, as well as all of the podcast streaming sites. Just look for Porch Lore and you will find me. Also, all the links are in my bio. Thank you, Gigi, and thank you, Riverman. Hi, Diamante. Hi, Wanderlust Fairy. I will be right back with the tale of the Dark Road Encounter. Grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, sit back and relax, and welcome to the porch. Yes, Jessica, I wrote all these stories. And if you guys could do me a favor and hit that share arrow in the bottom right-hand corner. There's a yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other. That says repost, and that puts my live into your friends' FYPs. And it helps us grow this beautiful porch. You can undo it and redo it sometimes. It helps the algorithm. Also, sharing within your stories and to your friends helps immensely. So thank you guys so much. It helps bring in new people, and I appreciate it. Shannon. Hi, Rocky Mountain Fairy. You're so cute. Hello. Hello, cutie. Everybody be sure to follow Rocky Mountain Fairy. She's adorable and she's an incredible singer. She's like a Broadway singer. And she goes live and sings all kinds of songs. All right, you guys, the Dark Road Encounter is the winner of the poll, and I will be right back with that story. Grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, sit back and relax, and welcome to the porch. Of course, Rocky Mountain Fairy, your voice is so amazing. I had so much fun in your live. Hi, Shorty, you too. Hi, Nancy. Shannon, that was so cute. Thank you. I love the jungle blitzies. Why is he so cute? He's always doing something really important in the jungle. Oh my God, Megs, what is that couch? Megs! Was that a couch in a hot air balloon floating through outer space? Oh my God, Megs, you make the best mashups. Hi, Reverend. Hey, Sharper. Megs, that couch was so funny. It did look comfy. Like, I want that green couch. I love that. Oh, really? Oh, they're out like a light. I love that. That makes my heart happy. That makes my siren heart happy. Yeah, we need a couch on the porch. That'd be great. Did you see that one, Michelle? I know. Okay, guys. Be right back. Don't worry, Whitney. I'm on all of the podcast streaming platforms. You'd be fine, I promise. Dude, I'm so happy you're still conscious. I can't wait for you to, you'll probably be out for sure by the end of the story. Because that's kind of what happens in here. Half the people in the live are usually asleep. We usually get about 500 or more in here, and we have about the same 24 people in the chat every night. The rest are snoozing, which makes me so happy that I can help everybody relax and fall asleep. Hi, Appalachian Boobas. How you doing? Welcome to the porch. Nice to see you again. All right, I'll be right back. Quick swag. You did, Valkyrie? Oh, you got your first porch snooze last night. I'm so glad. I'm so glad I can help you guys sleep. That's what I'm here for. Just because I don't sleep doesn't mean you guys don't need to. Skrilla. That's what I was just saying. I was like, just because I don't sleep. All right, I'll be right back. Hi, lovely. Oh my gosh, I'm honored, Rocky Mountain, to be on your ASMR sleep playlist. Thank you. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Palace Society. This is the tale of the Dark Road Encounter. I want to tell you a story that still keeps me awake at night. This happened a few years ago when I was driving through the desolate backroads of West Virginia, a route I had taken countless times before. It was late, past midnight, and I was heading back home after visiting my friend Stevie in Virginia. The drive should have been uneventful, just miles of empty road, dense trees on either side, and the occasional abandoned buildings, relics of a town long since faded from existence. There's a particular stretch of road out there, one that locals avoid at night. I had heard the stories. Disappearances, strange lights, whispers in the woods. But I always chalked them up to small town superstition. I wasn't afraid of the dark. And I wasn't the kind of person to be deterred by ghost stories. But that night changed everything. It started with the headlights. I noticed them in my rear view mirror. Distant but steady and matching my speed exactly. Chris, thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. It's so beautiful. At first, I thought it was just another traveler on the lonely road. But the way they stayed perfectly behind me, never gaining, never falling back, it felt strange. Love you, Chris. So I sped up. And then so did they. Thank you, Puerto Rican Shorty. So then I slowed down. And so did they. Okay, weirdo, leave me alone. The road stretched for miles with no turnoffs, no places for me to even pull over. Just dense, looming forest on both sides. And then just as I was starting to get major anxiety, the headlights suddenly vanished. Not like they turned off, Not like the driver had slowed or taken a hidden turn. They just disappeared. As if they had never been there at all. I told myself I was imagining things. That exhaustion was playing tricks on me. I knew I shouldn't have left Stevie's house so late. I was just too tired. But then my radio cut out. The static filled the car loud, rising in pitch. And then through the static, just beneath the screeching noise, I swore I heard something else. Not speaking and not whispering, just a kind of breathing, long, slow breaths. It almost sounded as if someone was in the backseat of my car. I didn't look, I couldn't turn around. Instead, I pressed the gas, desperate to reach the next town. The road stretched endlessly ahead, the trees seeming taller, darker. The minutes felt more like hours. And then I saw it, something standing in the middle of the road. At first, I thought maybe it was a deer. But then, as I got closer, I realized it was a person, a woman. She was standing completely still, illuminated by my high beams. Her hair was long and matted, and hanging over her face like the girl in the movie The Ring. Her clothes were old and tattered, and it looked like some type of dress from another time. I slammed on my brakes. She didn't move. She didn't even flinch. I should have turned around. I should have backed up and just gotten as far away from that place as possible. Something about the way she stood there, with her head tilted just slightly. And then in one impossibly fast motion, she lifted her head and looked right at me. Her eyes, they weren't human. They were black. Pure black, empty voids where eyes should be. And then she smiled at me. The radio static roared in my ears. The breathing now growing louder. Then, my headlights flickered, and in that split second of darkness, she had somehow moved way closer to me. I threw my car into reverse, tires screeching as I tore backward down that mountain road. I didn't care where I was going. I didn't even care if I crashed at this point. I just needed to get away from her. And as I looked into my rearview mirror, she was still there, standing in the exact same spot, just watching me and smiling that horrifying grin. I don't remember getting home. I don't even really remember the rest of the drive. One minute I was speeding down the road, and the next, I was pulling into the driveway. Michelle, that was so cute. I was pulling into the driveway, shaking so hard, I could barely get the key in the door. I never took that route again, and I never spoke about it to anyone. But sometimes when I'm driving alone at night, I'll catch something in my peripheral vision, a shadow on the road, and I still can't bring myself to glance into that rear view mirror again. And that's the tale of the dark road encounter. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Rocky Mountain. If you're new here, my name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore. And I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I'm here every night from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. Thank you, Chris. Those are so cute. I love those cardinals. And thank you, Deborah, for the hand hearts. And Terry, thanks for the little snail. Also, thank you to those of you joining me over on YT and the Tea Witch. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the porch. And I'm going, if you guys give me 1 second, I'm going to set up the next poll for us to vote. And I'm a night owl. I've always been a night owl. I've always been like this. I usually end at 1 and I'm not till bed till like 3 or 4. But I also don't have kids, so I sleep in. Metro, thank you for the cozy cryptids. Shannon, thanks for the cozy cryptids. I sleep in, so that helps. Can't be a night owl and like get up at 5 in the morning. Like when I was a news reporter, I was still naturally night owl, but I couldn't be because I had to be at work at 7 in the morning. So I'm adaptable, but my natural state is absolutely night owl. I do my best work in the middle of the night. Oh, you wake up at 4:30 in the morning? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I wish I was a morning person. I never have been. Like, I just start going at like 10. Like 9, 10, I'm just getting like going. Yes, I was a news reporter for a decade. Sherry, it's just another streaming app. I'm good, Steven. How are you doing? That's so crazy, Rocky Mountain. You get up at 4:30 no matter what. Hi, Angela. I didn't see you come in. Hi, boo-boo. I do my best work at night. And you know what is, when I studied anthropology, I learned that genetically, back in the day, and it's still the case today, capitalism doesn't allow for it, but genetically there were 2 types of people. There were literally genetic night owls and there were morning people. The night owls stayed up and tended to the fires, so people stayed warm and protected while they slept from predators and cold. And they would sit around the fire and guess what? Make up music, tell stories, draw on the cave walls. They were the creatives and the artistic people most of the time. Not always, but the night owls were also just the ones that could stay up and tend to the fire and keep everybody. And then the people who slept in the caves were the ones who went out and foraged and hunted and got the food during the day in the morning, and then they had to sleep so that they could do that in the morning. So there were like roles for us. Hi, Daniel-san, I miss you so much. So it was actually a vital role and very important in society to have those night owls. But nowadays, they gotta put you in the 9 to 5. Hi, Hench. Thank you for being here. Hi, handsome. And so we are still genetically night owls, but instead we get to feel shame and guilt and punished for it, instead of back in the day we protected the hunters from predators, kept them warm while they slept. We were very important. I'm good, Hench. How are you? So yeah, that was one of my favorite things I learned in anthropology class that I thought was fascinating was it's a distinct, like there is a difference. Like your circadian rhythm, like you can train yourself to be the opposite, but it's not how it's like a genetic thing, which I find really cool. And it also makes me eliminate the, oh my God, that's so funny. She says she forages every morning and she's a morning person. See? Yep. And so I feel like once you remove the shame of like, once you reprogram your brain to be like, you know what? No, it's just our stupid society now. 1,000 years ago, I would have been, you know what I mean? Like, we're still humans. I don't care what society says. So whatever society we're living in now, we're still a human soul in here. And like, there's no shame in being a night owl, just so you guys know. And like Angela and I said, some of us do our best stuff at night. The Beatles wrote all their songs at night, they said. And they said that they had a saying once where while everybody was sleeping, they were writing Billboard hits. Sorry, guys. Stupid ass puzzle piece. My bad. Exactly, Holly. We sat by the fire at night gardening and like writing stories and like being up at night by the fire. Like, that sounds amazing. No, yeah, Kim. And that's what I was saying is we all had to adapt. We all had to adapt. That's what I said. When I was a news reporter, I had to be at work at 7 a.m. And it was so hard for me. But I just wanted to, even though we have to adapt, I want you guys to know there's no shame in it being hard for you in the mornings. There's no shame in you having a hard time sleeping at night, because it's actually what we're naturally wired for. And it's okay. So don't let yourself feel like that night owl guilt that we all feel. People think, especially those of like if you sleep in the mornings on the weekends, it's like lazy to sleep in. I'm like, well, you guys go to bed early. I stay up all night. That's lazy. Why are you going to bed at 9? I get 6 more hours. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really no different. Yeah, Kimberly, I totally get it. Sometimes I used to go to work with like when I was a news reporter, sometimes I'd have like 3 hours of sleep if I was lucky. And then I had to work like 12, 14-hour days. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And that's why I got burned out. Yeah, it's literally hazel eyes. That's totally normal. Hi, Code Red. How you doing, cutie? Metro, thank you for the hand hearts. And Sharper, thank you for the beautiful hanging lights. I love those. Bisbee, thanks for the level up. Hench, thanks for the cozy cryptids. Daniel-san, are you still here? Thanks for the love you so much. All right, you guys. I'm going to set up the next poll for us to vote on the next story. And I'll be right back. Yes, good night, Rocky Mountain. Sweet dreams, cutie. Thanks for coming in. And what are your hours again? You live every night? Tell me your schedule so I can pin it so people can come catch you sing. Because everybody should hear you sing. You're amazing. Of course. Dr. Pepper, we teared up. Amazing. Oh, I sing every Wednesday. Okay, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You guys check her out. She's like a Broadway singer and Disney princess and amazing and adorable. And she's funny as hell. So go check her out. give her a follow. I'll be right back with the next poll. Ooh, with a mountain backdrop next week? Ooh. Okay, you guys, the next poll is ready. We have Halls, you said you scare yourself. That's cute. It is scary. Okay. Metro, thank you for the cozy cryptids. Every time I see your name, I think of like, never mind. Metro Boomin, you know what I'm talking about. Did anybody else know? Aw, thank you for the Cooper code red. Okay, the next poll is ready. We have Rampage. Thanks for the follow. Skrilla, you got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm so like out of control. Retro Boom on the, you know what I'm talking Metro, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Metro Boomin, exactly, Justin. Metro Boomin on some, yeah. And then eventually go right into like Ric Flair drip like a boo on a bitch. Like I really am Skrilla. Like I really am. But it's not even that undercover. It's just you would never expect it. But I literally grew up in North Carolina and like so corny. I'm so corny. Sorry, Lily. See, that's what people always say. My code switch, I know. You know what's so funny is people always say that they'll be like almost asleep and then I make them laugh so hard that they wake up. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm spooky and I'm goofy. I can't help it. Okay, so we've got the poll ready. And we've got Huggin' Molly. The Haint of Huggin' Molly, to be exact. The Hitchhiker. The Fresno Nightcrawlers. The Goat Man. And the Deer Woman. Spoofy, I like that code red. Goofy and spooky. And you can vote in the top left-hand corner. There's a blue box, and you can vote up to 50 times, and you can vote for more than one story. What sounds like that, Skrilla? All right, you guys, Hug and Molly's in the lead, but the deer woman's going to be pissed. And she's way scarier than Hug and Molly. I'm just going to say. The deer woman is way scarier. All the stories do? I love that. I love that. I love how I told you guys, and you're like, yeah, you're right. The deer woman is scarier. Let's go vote for her. Skrilla, have you looked at my merch? I know it's not really the same thing, but I've been making the major arcana of the tarot from my cryptids for merch. So each time I introduce one, like if they're one that I decided was going to be on the card. Like nobody ever guessed, but I thought it was really clever. The Fresno Nightcrawlers, you guys, was the Fool. The Fool card. Get it? Because they look like little fools wandering around. And I feel like no one got it. No one got it. Right, Kim? Thanks. Duh. They're the Fool card. And I asked everybody to guess. No one guessed it. And then I told everybody nobody thinks it's... I'm like, come on. I think that's funny. Come on, you guys. Hi, Sam. Oh, the deer woman won. You guys are safe. Hug and Molly's pissed, but she's not nearly as scary as the deer woman. High Priestess. Who did I make High Priestess? Lala Chusa. I made Lala Chusa. High Priestess. Oh, really, Tommy? Cool. I used to be B1. I must have fallen. I haven't really keep up with it much. I haven't noticed in a while. Good night, Lily. Sweet dreams. All right, you guys, I will be right back with the tale of the deer woman of Oklahoma. Glinda, what do you mean? Poop? Like, as in poop? Like, he called the shit poop? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? And yes, Jesse, Lala Chusa is. Yep. I just read it earlier, but it's a really good one. Hi, Misbehavin'. Welcome in. Right, Kimberly? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Glinda. Poor Glinda. She meant to write pool. TikTok just did you dirty. TikTok's like, she called a shit poop. And you know what? I still don't know what the acronym POOL means. I did know what POOP meant, but pool? Like a swimming pool? Peace over, I don't know. I'm making that up. I don't know. I'm sure somebody can tell. I mean, it might be. It could be like, I mean, I don't know. We're going to have to check the Urban Dictionary. We're going to have to check it. Jesse, thank you for the follow. Was it called the shit poop that really sealed the deal? Were you like, all right, she gets my follow? Sherry, nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative. Thank you, Metro. Yeah, it gets the people going. Exactly. I can actually tell you what 6'7" means, Tommy. I know what that means. Angela, I love, are you getting them? I feel like half the time people don't even know what the hell I'm saying. I love, see, and because Angela's my friend in real life, and Angela is so used to me. Angela's been my friend since we were 19. She's so used to my shit. And yeah, 6'7" actually means something, but it's really nerdy that I figured it out. But I'll tell you guys what it means if you really want to know. Okay, travel back in time to when you were learning the periodic table in high school, okay? Remember that? And Ange, I love you. And you remember how all the elements have a number and then they have a little letter, right? Check out what 6'7" means on the periodic table when you're a teenage boy learning it in class. It's ho. Ho. And they would go around and they'd send 6'7" to girls in texts on comments of their pictures, calling it's a sneaky deaky way to call a girl a hoe. And there you go. Crack the code for you guys, because I am a nerd who knows the elements, and it means hoe. It's still just boys finding a clever way to call girls hoe. Yep, it's holium. Yep, there you go. So, and guess what? I figured that out because I'm a nerd. And then I asked some teenage boys and they were pissed that I figured it out. They're like, what? Because so all of us adults don't remember any of that shit. And we don't know the elements anymore, so no one can figure it out. I did, and they were like, what? So, there you go, guys. Aw, Angela, I love you. Yep. Because think about it, though. That's the prime time when they're learning that shit. I don't think about the periodic table ever. They do. It's drilled in their head every single day. They're like, I mean, it's made for the joke. Ho. I mean, duh. But, yeah. It was clever because it really worked. Nobody knew what the hell they were saying. So they kind of like really got away with it. It was a clever one. Are you Queen Lakota? 6'7". Quick swig and I'll be right back with the dear woman. Exactly, Kim. None of us think about the periodic table ever. That's why it's so slick, because we don't remember that. But if you look up what element 67 is, it's a hoe. And the best part is when you give it a goog, it doesn't explain that. Oh, of course, Manoa. I enjoyed it. Like I feel like it's not online. Last time I looked, nobody's like cracked that code but me. Like I feel like I asked and I've asked at least 6 teenage boys. They're my friend's sons, my nephews, right? And they're all like, dude, how'd you know? Yes, Manoa, you did a great job. I really enjoyed it, and it was such a cute book. You're on both. Thanks for being here. Yeah, and that's the funniest thing, Halls, is it became such a trend that they literally, just like Halls said, they put 6'7" on like toddler clothes. Which, like, why would any business do that unless you could figure out what the hell it meant? So those toddlers are walking around with like, ho. Like, I can't. Yeah, stop trying to make fetch happen. Oh, toddler clothes. I can't. Anyway. Yeah. So next time you guys see 6'7", remember, it means hoe. By the way, you guys, mid-story, last story, I spilled my hot tea, all over myself. It was great. It was great. Venus said, who you calling 6'7"? Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Code Red. I tried not to miss a beat, but I was like, yeah, I'm okay, I think. I mean, it feels like I still have skin on my thigh. I haven't checked yet, but the honey will be good for my skin. It's cool. James, thank you. We figured out what pool meant. Does everybody see that? And yeah, Wanderlust Fairy, I imagine not all kids know. I don't think they sent out a PSA about it. So I assume that most kids, it's only if they figured it out or if somebody shared it. Thank you, James. Who was looking for the abbreviation of POOL? It's Parallel Object Oriented Language, used in software and computer programming. Maybe that's it. Not as cool as poop, but hey. Submitted for the approval. Yes, they're not people. Whitney, definitely not that one. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Pal Society. This is the tale of the Deer Woman of Oklahoma. Most people who talk about the Deer Woman online reduce her to a metaphor. They frame her like some elegant morality tale. An avenging spirit, a cautionary fable, a beautiful, supernatural punisher of wicked men. But the older stories I heard in Oklahoma did not sound like metaphors. The older stories there were warnings. Warnings spoken by grandmothers while shelling beans on porches. Warnings murmured by uncles over campfires. Warnings folded into bedtime stories and tribal teachings. Old superstitions that nobody openly admits they still believe. The dear woman was never simply a monster. She was a consequence. Among Native nations such as the Cherokee, Creek, Seminole, Osage, and many others, whose histories stretch through Oklahoma long before it was Oklahoma, stories of the dear woman vary, but the bones of the tale remain the same. She appears as a beautiful woman alone in the woods or by the roadside. Sometimes she's dancing. Sometimes she's crying. Sometimes she's asking for help. And sometimes she's luring men from camps, from roadsides, from bars, from lonely cabins. She is almost always described the same way. Beautiful beyond reason. Impossibly graceful, long dark hair, bright eyes, skin shining in the moonlight. And then, always too late, the men notice her feet. Hooves, split and black and cloven beneath the hem of her dress. Thank you, Justin. In some stories, she tramples those who are cruel. And in some stories, she seduces predators before killing them. In some tales, she exists as vengeance itself. Punishment for violence against women. For lust, for arrogance, for disrespect. In the older versions, she is less moral and more primal. A predator wearing a human face because human men are foolish enough to follow beauty into the darkness. Kinsey told me all of that on the drive from Tulsa toward the eastern hills, where the highways narrowed and the land rolled into endless folds of oak forest and red dirt roads. She had grown up in Oklahoma and invited me out to do some exploring. I had flown in for a long weekend to visit her, and the plan was simple. Stay at her family's old hunting cabin near the edge of tribal land. Spend a few days hiking. Film some footage for my channel. And hear local legends from people who actually grew up with them. Instead of reading sanitized versions online. It was exactly the sort of trip I love. When I asked Kinsey whether she believed in the dear woman, she stared at the road a little too long before telling me that she wasn't sure what she believed, but believing had nothing to do with respecting something. The cabin was older, rough timber walls, tin roof, a broad porch, which I love, antlers mounted over the fireplace. It sat alone in a clearing, surrounded by oak trees and blackjack pines. Thanks, Auntie Anna. With the woods pressing close, that at night the tree line became a solid black wall. There was shoddy cell service and no neighbors for miles. It was also pitch black, no ambient city glow, just darkness. The perfect place for a spooky weekend adventure. The first night there, Kinsey pointed out a spot not far beyond the woods. Apparently, it was native ceremonial grounds that her grandfather had warned her to never disrespect. She said local kids used to dare each other to sneak out and go there after dark. Most came back screaming before they'd even reach the trees. One boy supposedly came back barefoot, bloody, and hysterical, swearing a woman had been dancing in the woods to no music. Every trail there had a story. Every creek crossing had some whispered warning attached to it. Everywhere around here seemed to have a reason locals didn't linger after sunset. The second night, after filming footage of the land all afternoon and hiking farther than we had intended, we drove into a quaint little town for dinner. One main street, one gas station, one diner, one blinking traffic light. By the time we left, night had swallowed any remaining light, and the highway back to the cabin was dark and empty. No headlights, no houses, just miles of black road slicing through forest and pasture. And then in the light of our headlights we saw it. A woman. Good luck, Whitney. A woman walking barefoot along the shoulder of the road, alone at nearly midnight, in the middle of nowhere. She wore a pale dress. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. And even in the headlights, there was something strange about the way she moved. Kinsey didn't even slow down, and every hair on the back of my neck stood up. Kinsey floored it past the woman without even turning her head, without even looking, without even acknowledging her at all. As we passed, her head turned with us, too smooth and too far like an owl. I twisted to look through the rear window, and she was standing in the middle of the road now, watching us leave. And even from that distance, I could tell her legs bent the wrong way, backwards at the knees. Kinsey drove the rest of the way with white knuckles on the wheel. Later, back at the cabin, we joked about it in the shallow way people joke about something that has them genuinely rattled. We tried to rationalize what we saw. Something with a physical impairment, maybe it was a lost hiker or a drunk person, a crackhead. Maybe it was just an optical illusion. But neither of us explained our own explanations. We locked the cabin and we stayed inside. Around midnight, something began circling outside. At first, just footsteps. We paced around the cabin for nearly an hour. Sometimes slow, sometimes suddenly sprinting around the perimeter in a manic thunder of hoofbeats. At one point, it stopped directly outside my window, and I could hear breathing. I don't know why I looked, why I'm so curious. But I peeled back the curtain, and there she was, standing inches from the glass. She looked human from the waist up, beautiful in the way venomous things look beautiful. Smooth skin, hollow dark eyes, hair hanging in damp ropes around her face. But below the waist, no human legs. Jointed hind limbs like a deer standing upright. Black fur slick against muscle. Split hooves planted on the porch boards. And then she smiled, and I screamed. And then she slammed into the window so hard the pane cracked. Kinsey dragged me backward as she shrieked outside. A sound somewhere between a woman screaming and an elk bugling and metal tearing. And then we heard the slow creak of the porch wood bracing from the weight of something stepping onto the porch. Then came the sharp, hard clicks like hooves clanking against the porch boards. For nearly an hour, she circled the cabin. Never knocking, never speaking, just pacing, waiting, trying to scare us out of the cabin. At some point, the pacing stopped, and we sat on the couch in silence. Then came the sound of a single heavy impact against the front door, hard enough to rattle the frame, and then another, and the entire cabin shook. And then nothing. Absolute silence. It stayed silent until dawn. And when sunlight finally bled through the curtains and we both could finally breathe again, we stepped outside. And the porch was empty. But the outside of the door and the wooden porch boards were scarred. Deep gouges raked across the door and the floor. We both packed up all our stuff in under 15 minutes and got out of there. Neither of us spoke much on the drive back to Tulsa. I just kept replaying the night over and over again in my mind, trying to make sense of it. Halfway through the drive, Kinsey got a call from her uncle. He sounded panicked and he asked where we'd been. He said the neighboring property owners found something in the woods that morning, or someone, a hunter, or what was left of him. His body had been found less than a mile from their cabin. Chest crushed inward, ribs shattered. Face nearly unrecognizable, like something heavy had stomped him to death. Authorities blamed a feral hog attack, but everyone local knew better. We never went back to that cabin, and Kinsey's family sold the property the following year. The worst part is, I realized later while reviewing the footage from the trip that when we had been by the creek and found tracks, I had set the camera down on a rock while we were talking. The lens had remained recording for nearly 6 unattended minutes, and I almost deleted it. But then movement in the background caught my eye. And between the trees behind us, far back in the brush, she stood there, watching, as if she had been there the whole time. And that's the tale of the Deer Woman of Oklahoma. Welcome in, everybody. If you're new here, my name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore, and I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. Hi, Detroit, and I am here every single night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. I do write and record all these stories myself, and if you like to listen to them when I'm not live, you can head on over and listen to them on my YT channel, as well as all of the podcast streaming sites. Just look for Porch Lore and you will find me. And also all of the links are in my bio. And with that, you guys know what time it is. Thank you, Michelle. It is grilled cheese time. Grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, watch the shooting stars, sit back and relax, and welcome to the porch. I will be right back with the tale of the night shift at Sycamore Diner. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Pal Society. Oh my God, Nikki, that was so cute with his little magnifying glass. God, I love him. He's so cute. Thank you. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Pal Society. This is the tale of the night shift at Sycamore Diner. Thank you, Mary. Hi, Tao. Oh my God, Nikki, look at him. He had a little tracksuit on. Hi, Lisa. Me too. I'm not usually the kind of person who pulls over on back roads at night. Not unless I absolutely have to. But that night, something about the storm, the long drive, and that growling pit in my stomach convinced me otherwise. I was hungry. It was late October, and I was headed back to campus after a weekend visit with my friends in North Carolina. I had a midterm on Monday, and my plan had been to drive straight through, 5 hours, no stops. But then came the rain. One of those cold, slanted, whispery rains that creeps into your bones. It makes the windshield wipers sound like a heartbeat. I had taken the wrong exit trying to bypass traffic, and I ended up on a 2-lane back road, surrounded by nothing but pine trees and power lines. And that's when I saw the neon sign. SYCAMRE Diner. The O in Sycamore was flickering like it hadn't worked right in years, but the rest was lit up in a cherry red neon. Look at him with his cape. Thank you, Nikki. A tiny beacon in the middle of nowhere. I figured I'd grab a quick bite, maybe some coffee, check my map, and get back on the highway. Good night, Nikki. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Sweet dreams. But I should have just kept driving. I should have known something was off the second I stepped inside. The bell over the door jingled, but not like a normal bell. It made this sharp metallic ping that echoed longer than it should have. The air inside was warm, almost too warm, and it smelled like grilled onions and pancake syrup. The place looked like it had been yanked straight from 1957. Checkerboard floor, red vinyl booths, a long counter with spinning stools, even a jukebox in the corner that looked like it hadn't worked in decades. And the people, they all stopped and looked at me the second I walked in. Not in a rude way, just quiet, like they weren't expecting me. Like I had walked in on the middle of a sentence that no one wanted to finish. A waitress, tall, with a beehive hairdo and a light blue uniform, smiled and waved me over. "You get caught in the rain, sweetheart," she said, handing me a laminated menu. I nodded, still trying to shake off that weird feeling. "Yeah, the highway's a mess." She chuckled and patted my shoulder. "Well, you're safe here. Sycamore's always open for travelers." I sat down at a corner booth. The vinyl creaked, and I remember the jukebox shifted songs by itself and started playing some slow doo-wop ballad that I didn't recognize. I looked around and everyone looked normal. Sort of. There was a trucker with a thick gray beard drinking coffee at the counter. A young couple whispering to each other in a booth by the jukebox. And an older woman stirring tea like she was lost in thought. But they all had the same look in their eyes, like they were there but also somewhere else. Like they were watching me out of the corner of their eyes even when they were looking down. The waitress came back with coffee, strong, hot, and surprisingly good. And I ordered a grilled cheese with fries. Simple, safe. She wrote it down with one of those clicky pens and said, "Don't worry, it's on the house tonight." That was my second red flag. No diner just gives food away. While I waited, I took out my phone to check the map. No signal, and I mean nothing. No bars, no Wi-Fi, not even GPS. Just a blank screen with a spinning wheel. "Thank you, Mace." I glanced out the foggy window. The storm was still going, but now the wind had picked up, and I could see the power lines swaying like jump ropes in the dark. But the diner stayed perfectly lit. Not even a flicker. The food came fast. Too fast. Like under 5 minutes. But it looked amazing. Golden bread, gooey cheese, crispy fries with a little metal cup of ketchup on the side. I took a bite. Delicious. I mean, I've eaten at a lot of diners, greasy spoons, college joints, and roadside shacks, but this was hands down the best grilled cheese I've ever had. The fries were perfect, and the coffee never ran out. Every time I took a sip, it was somehow full again. I was halfway through the sandwich when the trucker got up to leave. He walked right past my table, nodded once, and whispered, "Don't stay past midnight." That's all he said. What? But he was already out the door. The waitress gave me a tight smile, walked over, collecting his empty mug. "Old Earl, he's always saying weird stuff. Just ignore him." But I couldn't. Something about his voice stuck with me. Something about the way he looked at me. Not like I was a customer, but like I was in danger. I checked the clock over the register. 11:42. I figured I had just enough time to finish my fries, grab the check, and head out. I still had at least 3 hours left on the road. But when I stood up, the lights flickered. just once and then again. And then everything in the diner stopped moving. The couple by the jukebox froze mid-sentence. The woman with the tea stopped stirring, her spoon hanging in midair. The waitress, her hand reached out for a mug, just stopped, like someone hit pause on the entire scene. I took a step back and the jukebox buzzed, glitched, and restarted a new track. I could still move, but no one else could. And then I heard it. Not music, not a storm. A voice. Not coming from anyone I could see. Just a whisper that seemed to echo from the walls themselves. I backed toward the door, my heart hammering in my chest, and I turned to the knob. Locked. Of course it was locked. I tried the windows, but they were sealed shut. I started banging on the glass and shouting, but no one was outside, just wind and rain and that flickering red sign. SYCAMRE. I turned back toward the dining room, and everyone was gone. Not frozen anymore, just gone. The booths were empty. No plates, no crumbs, no mugs. No sign that anyone had ever even been there. Except for my plate, still warm and still half-eaten. Thank you, Michelle. And then I saw the waitress. She was standing by the kitchen doors, her silhouette backlit by flickering fluorescent light. Her face was wrong. The same smile, but her eyes were empty, black and endless, like someone had painted over them. "You shouldn't be here, honey," she said in that same cheerful voice. "Not yet." I stumbled back, knocking over a chair as she took one slow step toward me. "The others, they were waiting, but you just wandered in." She raised a hand and the walls began to shimmer. Literally shimmer. Like heat waves on asphalt. The checkered floor rippled and the red booths started to fade, becoming outlines and then shadows and then nothing. And then I saw it underneath the illusion. It was charred wood, cracked tile, broken beams and black soot. Like the diner had burned down long ago. I ran. I don't even remember how I got out. One second I was inside and the next, I was on the side of the road, soaked to the bone and gasping for air. My car was still there, parked on gravel that didn't even look like a lot anymore. Just weeds and puddles. No neon sign, no glowing windows, just nothing. I drove back to campus that night in silence. No music, no Porch Lore podcast. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see that red neon flicker back to life. I didn't tell anyone. Not for weeks. Not until I finally looked up Sycamore Diner on a local history site. And I found it. It burned to the ground in 1972. A gas leak. The whole place went up at midnight, and everyone inside was killed. 5 patrons, a waitress, and a cook. The photo in the article? The same checkerboard floor, same red boots, the same neon sign. SYCAMORE. And in the corner of the photo, that same waitress, smiling. I never took that back road again. I don't even drive at night anymore if I can help it. And every time I see a neon diner sign, something in me flinches just a little. Because I know I was there. And I know I wasn't supposed to be. But the part that keeps me up sometimes, the part that really makes my stomach turn, that was the best damn grilled cheese I've ever had. And I didn't even pay for it. And that's the tale of the night shift at Sycamore Diner. And with that, I will say goodnight, everybody. I love you guys so much, and I love spending my evenings with you guys. I am so grateful for our wonderful community, and you guys have helped change my life, and I am forever grateful. I hope you guys get some wonderful sleep, and if you can't fall asleep, check out my YT channel or any of the podcast streaming sites. I have a playlist called Bedtime Stories. Thank you, Daniel-san. I love you and I miss you so much. Just look for Porch Lore and you can find me. Also, all of the links are in my bio. Also, check out the merch. Even if you don't want to buy anything, you'll get a good giggle and it's fun stuff. It's fun stuff. I put some of my love into it, so I hope you guys like it. Oh, Matt, love you too. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Same time, same place, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget, stay spooky. Yes, Jade. Good night, Sully. Good night, Cloud Dancing. Stay spooky. Aw, thank you for the hanging lights, Mace. Michelle, thank you for the wakey mall. And Mace, thanks for the bravos. Daniel-san, thank you for the love you so much. Sweet dreams, everybody. See you tomorrow.